But the suspense has been killing you. No, it hasn't. Oh, well, never mind. Do you remember the fantastic? You probably watch this concurrently, so you'll be able to pick this up straight away. This is the fantastic milk or cream jug with every feature considered. You couldn't make. There was no one alive in 1953 who could make a better milk jug than that. I've never heard of the bloke till I saw this three-piece tea set, which is shameful, but that's a masterpiece. Might not look it, you might look at it and think, he's gone nuts talking about that. That's a masterpiece. Now, the real business, the teapot. Oh, I filmed these, sat at a desk with a small pull-out secretaire top, and the weight of me had just pushed it back, so there we go. But there's the business, there's the teapot. And everything that applied to the sugar bowl and the cream jug applies to the teapot. The odd thing, and I did think this when I saw it in the catalogue, the odd thing is that these are black. These are ebony. And I thought, oh dear, this is another case where it's had... Normally at this time they'll have ivory or ivorine. Ivorine is better these days because it's just a plastic and you don't have to remove it. They'll have ivory insulators that have been ripped off and someone's bodged a bit of old wood on. But of course these are all original. And it's very unusual to have them in ebony. It's not unheard of, but it's quite unusual to have the insulators and the finial to the cover in ebony. And I thought, well, why has he done that? Because everything's considered by this man. Then, of course, we remember the inscription on the bottom. WEH, in remembrance of STH. So this is made or commissioned in the memory of somebody that's no longer here, somebody that's died. And in keeping with that, even though the whole object is largely made of silver, the nod to it being a mourning piece has been made by Newland Smith in utilising a black wood rather than a white, jolly ivorine for these parts. It's a nod to that. It's very subtle. But, you know, having got a feeling for the man, I expect no less. Again, here's the handle. Beautifully engraved here and here and here, just where you can't see it. The cover is unusual at this period. There's all sorts of different covers you get. You normally get a hinged cover. There's a little hinge to keep it attached. On earlier ones, you get a pull-off cover. But this, as you can see from these little lugs here, he's made a bayonet fitting. So if we look at the base here, we've got two cutouts here and here. So when you're making your tea, you can pop the lid on, you give it a twist, and it stays on then. It's not going to tip off or anything. And he doesn't have to put, you know, why has he done that? He doesn't have to ruin the line of this with a big ruddy hinge here. It's all been thought out. It's all done for a reason. And you can tell that because you have to turn it. You actually don't, but it's been made to turn in a certain way to lock it shut. And how do you know where that is? You see it? Difficult to see, I know, it's so tiny. Little arrow. It's engraved a little arrow to tell you, put it on that way and turn it clockwise. Turn it clockwise, numbnuts. Again, all of this is beautifully hand raised. The spout has this moulded lip. It's got a little bit of engraved decoration, the engraved line that's replicated on the rim here. And it's just a pleasure to hold a piece of silver like this. A bit of research told me who WEH was. I thought there's a very good chance it's another member of the Welling Craft Workers Guild, and goodness knows their unusual initials. And we find Winifred E. Harrison, who was a weaver, who was also a member of the Welling Craft Workers Guild. And it's certainly why he took the care to make this set. Although I don't think, I've not seen anything, I've not handled anything else by him, but I would be amazed if it wasn't of the, the best, most meticulous quality. But he was making this for another guild member, someone he knew very well, and the testament to how considered this set was that even though it's inscribed for 1953 as a gift, it isn't assayed until 1956. It's not submitted for assay. It's taken 2.5, 3 years to design and manufacture this set. Okay, he's retired. He's working from home. But any silversmith will tell you it doesn't take 2.5 years to make a tea set, no matter how slowly you go, unless you're thinking about every aspect of it. And that reminds me, because I'd forgotten, I got too involved with arrows. Always check your nuts. Good life lesson, that. Always check your nuts. But check your silver nuts. Lots of bits of silver, finials, feet, castings, stampings, armorials. A lot of them are fitted with screws and nuts, even from the 16th and 17th century. Now, if there's one area where you can sort of dodge craftsmanship, it's the making of a nut. You can, bore the thread in it, just cut a little circle out. You can cut a little square, tighten it up. No one's going to see it, are they? Maybe you can... I'm always breathing on things. Maybe you can see how that's been finished. He's filed that off, so it's a hexagon. But at each facet of the hexagon, he's filed or engraved it to form a very beautiful little petal-like design. And it's even been separately assayed. So it's got the standard mark on it. That is the level of finish you want to look for an exceptional piece of silver. It also helps with dating, because on 17th and 18th century silver, nuts are generally, not always, but generally beautifully finished. They'll be shaped and filed, whereas on 19th and 20th century silver, with the exception of anything made by someone as genius as Newland Smith, they will just be little machine circles, or they'll just be square nuts. This again makes us think about why things are made and who's making them. First of all, to get a good piece of, a wonderful bit of silver, you need someone who can actually make it, so they've got the skills to do it. But then there's their motivation for making it. Newland Smith, I don't think Newland Smith made this set for money. I'm sure he was paid, but that wasn't the purpose. The purpose was bringing, the opportunity to bring a lifetime's worth of skill to bear to make something for a friend that he held in high esteem, another member of his guild, for themselves to remember a deceased relative. I don't don't like bringing emotion into things. I think, often the world of antiques is too emotional. We're not the repair shop. We're not going to be sobbing in a corner, even if the director's holding a bunny at gunpoint just to make us cry. But there is something very touching about this. And that is why everything has been poured into its manufacture. And you can see things by very good silversmiths. Lots of people buy names, I'm afraid. Lots of people buy Paul de Lamery, and they'll show you a second course dish plate by Paul de Lamery. And yep, it's fine, second course dish. And it's marked Paul de Lamery. It's just a second course dish. He was making that. He was knocking, well, he wasn't making it. Someone in his workshop was making it. They were knocking it out to make money. They did it beautifully. They finished it beautifully, but only as well as anybody else. The spectacular things, same with Paul's store. The number of bits of Paul's store I've seen that are just, personal opinion, worst things ever. Dull, bulbous. I say that can I accuse anything else of being dull and bulbous? But dull, bulbous, heavy, plain, horrible bits of silver that people literally enthuse and get down on the ground and worship. But again, they were commercially produced. Think to yourself, why is somebody making this? If some little provincial silversmith has got a wonderful commission from the Lord of the Manor and he's tip-tapping away in his workshop in 1695 and he wants to do a good job because if he doesn't, his name is mud, that's going to be a fabulous piece of silver. If something like this, which is very rare because we sort of have the story of it, because we know who the silversmith is and we know more about his life and also the person that commissioned it, we can tell the entire story of it. But often, when you look at pieces of silver, earlier silver, you can't really do that. And you have to detach yourself away from names. It's lovely to have something by somebody important. We all get that, the people that collect Clarice Cliff. I've got a bit of Clarice. Forget it. But honestly, look at every object for its own merits. Really look at it. Really look at it. Learning to look at things is possibly one of the most important things you'll do with antiques. It's become more difficult now. Lots of things are online. We look at pictures of things and we don't take the time just to pick something up. I mean, I only saw a picture of this and I almost didn't buy it. Because I'd set a limit, because I didn't pick it up and look at it first. And now I have. I mean, it's the most wonderful thing in the world. So, learn to look. If you've got the opportunity, go out and look at these things, pick them up, handle them. Less opportunity than there used to be, but there's always an auction. If there's an auction nearby to you, go and have a look at things. If there's an antiques fair, get out the door, go and have a look at things, pick things up. Dealers won't mind. You might buy, after all, it's a bit like me, you might buy something. Wouldn't that be wonderful and unexpected? Go on, give me a shock. Give me a shock and buy something. You would do much worse than buying this off me, I promise you. It's probably at least in my opinion, it's probably the finest 1950s silver tea set, 3-piece tea set you'll ever see in your life. But, it's all about the object. It's all about who made it, how they made it, and often why they made it. An average silversmith can have a really good day and make something fantastic. And one of the great silversmiths can get a guy at the back of the workshop to make something really humdrum and average and at a price to make a few pounds. and it's not that great. Pay attention to hallmarks, pay attention to makers, but judge the items for their own qualities. I had never heard of Frederick Newland Smith, but now it's a name that's engraved on my heart, just through this tea set. It's a fantastic thing. So I hope I haven't waffled, but I have. I've gone on for half an hour about a tea set. I should be locked up or at the very least shot. Next week I'll try and not go on for too long about a tea set. That's all I can promise. I may or may not see you then. But until then, good hunting and look at things.